Blue lights spray across my hedges while a news helicopter thumps overhead, spotlights sweeping over the manicured lawns of Cedar Harbor like we're hosting a movie premiere. Except tonight. The guest of honor is a fraud investigation, and I'm smack in the middle of it. Right there on my front lawn, I've got 3 folding tables covered with HOA binders, some confiscated files, and, just to add insult to injury, the leftover champagne pyramid from last year's mandatory morale gala, an event nobody wanted in the first place. And then you've got the HOA president, still wearing a sash that says Dockmaster, getting his rights read to him by a detective who honestly looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. Maybe a dentist appointment, maybe Siberia, who knows? And who's standing off to the side, shrieking for the whole neighborhood to hear? Beverly Clean, our very own HOA Karen, waving her arms, voice cracking with desperation. Arrest him, she screams, fingers shaking in my direction like she's leading a witch hunt. He sold the yacht to a cartel. The detective, unfazed, keeps scribbling on his notepad, probably writing "No, Beverly" for the 3rd time that night. Neighbors are popping out onto their porches now, cell phones up, recording everything. Honestly, it's better than anything on cable. My name's Nolan Price. I moved to Cedar Harbor. For peace and quiet. Think salt air, winding cul-de-sacs, the kind of place where the HOA brags about being a micro-municipality. I just wanted lazy mornings, painting a chessboard on my driveway, sipping coffee in the sun, and nobody knocking on my door before 9 a.m. You know what I mean? Simple things. I never expected to be living across the street from Beverly Clean, vice president of the Sycamore Sound Estates HOA and, unofficially, admiral of everyone else's business. Every morning, like clockwork, Beverly marches down the sidewalk with a clipboard in hand, looking like she's leading a parade for neat freaks. The whole mess started one Saturday when I put my 28-foot cruiser, low tide, high road, up for sale online. Not even 4 hours later, my doorbell's ringing. And there's Beverly, clutching an orange violation slip like she's serving divorce papers. My crime. Unauthorized nautical advertisement visible from the street. I pointed out my boat was in my driveway, minding its own business, not blocking traffic or anything. Beverly just taps her clipboard and says, with that tone that makes you want to gnaw your own arm off, visibility constitutes promotion, and promotion requires committee approval. I asked, what committee? She goes, the Watercraft Advertising Review Board. I ask when they meet. When necessary, she says. Who's on the board? I press. She straightens up and goes, I'm the interim chairwoman, secretary, and sole voting member. Yeah, that happened. The next day, a new violation turns up, this time for my mailbox. Non-compliant sheen causing glare hazards for pedestrians. I don't even know what that means. Then it's my rosemary bush. Apparently it's a haven for wasps of unusual size. Her 17-page complaint even flagged the "Please Be Normal" sign in my backyard as political signage, which apparently needs pre-approval from some imaginary subcommittee. Beverly's got more committees than the Senate, all starring her. She measured my grass with a ruler, kneeling on my lawn at 6:30 in the morning, muttering about blade length regulations. I'm watching this like, is this real life? Things escalated quick. Beverly started flying a drone over my yard, claiming she was counting deck screws for maintenance records. The thing hovered for 20 minutes. I've got the footage on my phone. Next day, she shows up at my boat slip in a reflective vest that says "Federal Intern" in big block letters, writing down serial numbers, measuring distances, acting like she's got government clearance. Other boat owners asked what she was doing, and she told them she was running a federal audit for the Maritime Safety Administration. Someone called the actual harbor master. He had her escorted off the docks. The night before my boat's buyer wired the money, I catch Beverly crouched behind my hydrangeas at 9 p.m., flashlight in hand, furiously scribbling VIN numbers like some kind of raccoon with a law degree from YouTube. I'm watching her through the window, phone in hand, documenting every move. She had a binder labeled "Vessel Compliance Evidence." Honestly, it looked like a middle school art project. She tried to peek through my garage window, and when I flipped on the porch light, she dove into the bushes, literally. Disappeared like a feral cat. When the sale closed and the buyer hauled off my boat, Beverly finally lost her grip on reality. She called 911, not once, but 4 times in 1 hour. I know because the cops let me hear the dispatch tapes later. First call, my boat's been stolen. Second, suspicious circumstances, possibly organized crime. Third, as she's following the buyer onto the highway. Vessel fleeing with suspicious cargo and a man in a hat. The dispatcher asked what the suspicious cargo was. Beverly said she couldn't confirm, but it looked heavy and was covered with a tarp, which was just a standard boat cover. She even sent them my Zillow listing as evidence and tried to file a missing vessel report under the HOA's Dockmaster Authority, which, I should mention, isn't a real thing. Fourth call, dispatcher finally refuses to send more units. Beverly demands to talk to a supervisor and threatens to report the whole police department to the Coast Guard. Around 7 that night, 2 patrol cars and a harbor officer show up at my place. I hand over the bill of sale, transfer paperwork, even a selfie with the new owner, both of us smiling like we just won a raffle. The harbor officer, looking like he needs a nap, asks Beverly, "Who authorized you to file this report?" Beverly waves the HOA bylaws like she's warding off vampires. The officer squints at the letterhead. Sycamore Sound Estates Maritime Compliance Division. The seal is a cartoon dolphin wearing a badge. Suddenly, things shift. The officer calls in the state Attorney General's Consumer Fraud Unit, who loops in county authorities. Meanwhile, my neighbor Tom, the quiet guy nobody ever suspects, always out on his kayak, walks up with a thumb drive. Turns out, Tom's been collecting dirt for 2 years. He hands over emails showing Beverly had built a slush fund on fake fines, made up wake infringement tickets, dock storage fees, all funneled into a shell company called Salty Solutions LLC, owned by her sister-in-law. The business address, a UPS mailbox. Beverly had collected over $60,000 in bogus fines, unauthorized anchor deployment, excessive hull reflection, improper maritime flag display, you name it. Money out every month for nautical consultation and waterway management. Not a lick of proof any work was done. But the cherry on top? My doorbell camera caught Beverly trespassing, opening my gate, and sticking a GPS AirTag under my kayak rack. When the detective asked her about it, she said she was proactively monitoring vessel behavior. The detective just blinked at her and said, "Ma'am, that's stalking." Beverly argued back. She was enforcing boating safety, she said, practically quoting law books she probably found on a Facebook group. The detective was not impressed. Tuesday morning, 8:14 a.m., convoy rolls in. County detectives, a state fraud guy, even a Coast Guard liaison who looked ready to retire on the spot. They march into the HOA clubhouse in the middle of Beverly's mandatory dock etiquette brunch. Dress code, black and nautical, $50 fine if you didn't show. About 30 confused neighbors are sitting at anchor-themed tables when the authorities barge in with evidence bags. Binders gone, laptops bagged. The treasurer, Gerald, a jittery guy who'd mostly been Beverly's puppet, confessed everything before they even opened the second trash bag of files. He's pointing at cabinets, showing where Beverly kept her enforcement revenue ledger. The records showed tens of thousands skimmed for enforcement cruises on a rented pontoon boat. Those cruises were, in reality, just Beverly and her friends, drinking wine in the bay, snapping photos for social media. Dock master duties, she'd captioned them. Keeping our waters safe. Beverly tried to declare a formal recess in her best bossy voice. The detective just started reading out charges. False reporting, harassment, trespassing, misuse of 911, fraud-adjacent buffoonery. I mean, the legal terms were fancier, but you get the picture. By evening, a local news van's outside. Reporters zooming in on that dolphin badge. The story hits the news with the headline, HOA Admiral sinks own fleet. Beverly? She's banned from holding any HOA position in the county for the next 10 years, sentenced to 400 hours of community service, specifically, removing unauthorized signage, which is just poetic justice if you ask me. The judge ordered restitution to be paid. Straight out of her Dockmaster Leadership Retreat Fund, which, wouldn't you know it, was another fake account. When the sentence came down, Beverly went pale as a sheet. "But Your Honor," she said, voice quivering, "I was protecting property values. I was maintaining standards." The community needs oversight. The judge took off his glasses, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "Protection doesn't involve stalking, fraud, or calling 911 4 times to report a boat sale as a cartel operation." Beverly sat down, finally silent, staring at nothing, dolphin pin still crooked on her lapel, as the court officers walked over to talk community service and that $63,000 in restitution. Someone in the gallery whispered, "That's what you get." Beverly's shoulders slumped and, for the first time, she looked like she understood what it meant to be just another neighbor. So now, Cedar Harbor's a little quieter. The birds are back. The only drama is who's going to host the next block party, not whether you're violating some made-up maritime code. And me? I'm back on my porch with my mug of chamomile, watching the sun set instead of patrol cars roll in. But let me leave you with this. Where do you draw the line between keeping order and crossing into obsession? Is it ever justified to bend the rules for what you call the greater good? Or does power just end up corrupting the self-appointed protectors every time? Go on, drop your take in the comments. Ever had a Beverly in your neighborhood? Do you think she got what she deserved, or did justice go too far? I want to hear your stories. And hey, if you've enjoyed this ride through Cedar Harbor, stick around, share your HOA nightmares, and let's keep the conversation going, because you never know what's hiding behind the next mailbox.